All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Leader Class Springer. And yeah, this has been a figure that I've been mostly, I would say, excited about for a little while. Now, the big talking point with this figure is that he is a pretty heavy retool of the Siege Springer, which of course was a Voyager. So to sell him as a leader, I mean, there's definitely some improvements in the engineering, and he's got more of like a paint budget and stuff like that. But he also comes with a bevy of accessories to sort of fill out that price. And, you know, whether or not you think he actually does that successfully is a little up for interpretation. But yeah, the Siege Springer mold is one that I really dislike, but he does thankfully fix most of the problems that I have with that figure. So yeah, no, he's a nice figure, and we'll get into comparing what's actually different between the two of them as we go along. But yeah, here he is in his space car mode. He's got these little things on the top, which, like, to be most accurate, are at an angle like this. You could also, you know, put them out to the side like this, or put them up like this, really whatever you prefer. But they are supposed to be kind of at an angle like this. And yeah, he rolls around nicely. In terms of all the accessories that he comes with his sword, which becomes the rotor blades for the helicopter. He comes with an additional sword that is more accurate to the one that he actually used in the movie. Whatever. He comes with a big gun here, which again is accurate to the one he used in the movie. He comes with the two guns that came originally on the Siege version, which are, you know, unchanged. They're just cast in a slightly different color of gray. He comes with a Wrecker's hammer, which even has a little, there's no, you know, sticker or paint or anything, but there's a little place there to put like a Wrecker symbol. And yeah, it has got some nice sculpting on it too. It's got some nice, like, it's not just like a regular hammer. It's also got like all these little nicks and dents and notches in it, which I feel like is pretty nice detailing there. Now, I have a theory for this, because when they originally revealed him and they said that he came with a hammer, one of the guys on the team said something like, oh, and, you know, maybe this will be a good accessory to go with something else that might come out in the future. I'm kind of hoping that this is like a foreshadowing to a Rack and Ruin figure, because like they've been going through a lot of the Wreckers, and we haven't really gotten like literally the only figure of Rack and Ruin I think we've ever gotten officially was the one from Cyberverse. Yeah, the like, you know, with the flip out armor and stuff like that. So I'm kind of wondering if they're going to do a Rack and Ruin figure that doesn't come with a hammer arm, and that you can use this for that, which on the one hand, like, okay, I've got the hammer, so who cares? But on the other hand, like, for everyone who's choosing not to pick up this figure, that kind of sucks, that you'd have to get this leader class figure that is essentially, you know, a new version of a Voyager, which you may or may not have already been satisfied with, to get an accessory to, I don't know. I mean, again, we can talk about that if it ends up coming up. That's just kind of speculation, but he does come with this like Wrecker's hammer. And then of course he comes with the I've got better things to do today than die missile there, which is it's nice. It's got like a port so you can put like a blast effect in the back to actually have it launching. It's a neat accessory to have. I don't know if I necessarily needed it. Really, I mean, for me, I don't know if I necessarily needed any of this. I need the sword, and that's pretty much it. But, you know, he's got the accessories. They're all fairly well done. Now, in terms of storage, unfortunately, and this is the big one for me, this really drives me nuts. For the sword, which of course becomes the rotors for the helicopter, the storage option is to just peg it on top, similar to how, you know, a lot of figures do it, but it really drives me especially nuts with Springer, because this is part of his alt mode. Like, you know, and, you know, honestly, this looks way better than the way that it was handled on the Siege version. And I can kind of live with it, but, and I also think it looks slightly better if you kind of close these up so it looks like it's part of this chunk. And he's got, you know, just make it part of the alt mode. It's definitely a departure from how his alt mode is supposed to look, but I can live with it. But it just really drives me nuts that, you know, the sword that turns into the rotors doesn't have more integrated weapon storage, because it's literally part of one of the other alt modes. And the solution is just, yeah, peg it onto a car and make it look dumb. You know, it's like, Whatever. At least they have a separate tab, so it's at least tabbed on straight rather than just like using the port here and having it like wiggle all the way around like you were supposed to do with the Siege version. So yep, that's where that's supposed to go. The rest of these, I mean, these can just go where they used to on the Siege version, which you can plug them in here, you can peg them in back here. Usually just put them on here, but you know, that's an option. And then the rest of these accessories all have little tabs that you can use to plug into these sections. I mean, there's only 2 tabs though, so you got to pick and choose. I guess you could also notionally like plug in the gun back here, though. I don't know, I just did this a few minutes ago and it caused a little stress mark, so I don't know if I would really recommend plugging that in there, but I'll put that there. I guess you could put the hammer in like that as well and then plug both of these on, so you can notionally get everything attached to them, but like that looks incredibly stupid, I think. So, you know, the only things that I think like really look good stored on him are like, well, I don't really think the sword looks super good on him, but I'm just gonna have to live with that. And then the siege guns I think look fine plugged in up there. Personally, I just kind of leave all this off to the side and just leave him with his sword, and then close these up because I feel like that looks slightly better with the sword there, and then just leave all of these off to the side. Again, you know, that the sword is the only thing I needed, and I really wish it had integrated weapon storage. I get that they couldn't really redesign the siege mold so much that this actually had a place to, you know, go because there's really no real estate, but also, you know, they didn't have to just reuse the siege mold for the leader class. So I don't know if that's really a defense, but I can live with that, and then the rest of it I don't care so much about storing. But yeah, you can do that, and that is the option there, which, you know, it looks okay. I'm getting used to the look, and again, it's way better than what the Siege one looks like. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe there. Obviously, he's kind of a space car, so he can really, you know, compare however he needs to. Here he is with the Thrilling 30 Springer to show them off with a couple other Springers there, so you can see what the 2 of them look like. Obviously a very stylized, different design there, where even with the sword, this guy is much more G1 accurate. Here he is with Siege Springers, so you can see some of the differences here, what's changed. Like I said, I think that his handling of the sword is way better than the way that Siege does it, with the 2 separate swords that need to like flimsily tab onto the side, and then this piece that you just have to like put on top as a radar dish. And that's like the better version of the storage. How they want you to do it is like plug these onto the side and just have like a weird sort of like haphazardly spinning turret on the top. Like, so there's really no good options for how the Siege one does it. Still, I think that Thrilling 30 does it the best because he actually has the sword that is like an integrated storage that's, you know, stores underneath. I also think that the way that the sword functions is the best out of the 3 of them still as well, which is, you know, whatever. I mean, if you take off all the extra stuff, there's not so much different with the alt mode in terms of, you know, just the base mode there. There's definitely like a lot of pieces that are still re-sculpted, but they have like kind of the similar geometry. Like the front sections are re-sculpted. Yeah, they definitely are. The you know, the chest here is re-sculpted. This canopy section I think is the same. The back piece is re-sculpted. The wheels looks like are re-sculpted. Yeah, again, most of the panels are. Like, I guess these panels look like they're the same. Maybe the wing panels are probably the same. The entire legs are mostly the same, at least, you know, what's visible in this mode, I guess, aside from like the thigh chunks there. The feet are the same. But again, you know, it's similarly shaped things, but it doesn't have all the siege battle damage on it. I think that the greens are a little bit more screen accurate to how they were in the movie, rather than the more like kind of bright, vibrant greens of the Siege toy. He does just look better overall, but you know, it's up to you to decide like if it's a big enough of a difference to basically pay a leader price to get, you know, a Voyager that you may or may not already have with a bunch of extra accessories. But yep, that's what the 2 of them look like together. And then last but not least, let's bring on the rest of the crew here. We got RC, Cup, we'll get Rodimus Prime in the back there. These guys are definitely not all going to fit on here, especially with Rodimus and Ultra Magnus. Rodimus, Ultra Magnus, Blur, Wheelie we'll put on top of Rodimus, and Perceptor we'll just, you know, plunk him up here so you can see the full 86 crew minus the Dinobots. I'm not getting all the Dinobots out for this. But yeah, no, I think he looks pretty good with all of them. You know, it fits in well with how he looked in the movie, and I definitely think that it works, sword or no sword. I mean, you know, like I've got my grievances about the sword, especially in concept, but it doesn't look so bad up there, and you know, it's a space car anyway, so it having like a weird go faster streak is not like something that's totally alien. Like these guys kind of have that too with their little antennae. But yeah, it's not what I would prefer, but I can live with it. But yeah, to get onto transformation, obviously we're going to start off by going into the helicopter mode because of course Springer is a triple changer as he always has been. We just want to take the sword off for now and put that off to the side. We'll put that back on in a sec. There's, you know, it's again similar to how the Siege one works. I think, you know, from going to this mode to the helicopter mode, it's almost entirely the same. Like all of the like resculpted bits are really for like how it goes into robot mode. But you just want to take this back section and double hinge it up like that, so you can take the legs and just kind of unfold them at the knee for how they're going to be in robot mode and kind of click those into place. Then let's see, what do we want to do? We want to take the feet, kind of straighten them out like this. Then we want to untab the legs from each other here, rotate them around at the thigh swivel, rotate the feet around so they sit like this. Take these sections with the fins and they'll rotate out, and then you have to kind of simultaneously rotate these out because they sort of get in the way of each other, which is a little bit annoying, but whatever. And then we want to take the entire legs and they'll kind of unlock here from the lower section and kind of double hinge down like this. So they get a little bit, you know, skinnier here. And then you can go and tab all this stuff back together. And the tabs definitely feel a lot better on this one than they did on the Siege version, where it felt like things were like prone to possibly break. Then let's see, yeah, we do have to take the arms and just kind of fold them out to the side for now. So you can have the clearance to take these sections and fold them back underneath like this. You want to make sure that these little tabs that were used to tab them together go like in these grooves on the thighs there, just like that. And then we can take this section and double hinge it back down and tab it into place, and then you want to take these and click them down to the side so that you've got space for the rotor blades there. And that's the whole back section. And then for the arms here, you basically want to untab them here, bring them down like this so you can take this panel, fold it out to the side. The whole thing's on a slider, just like the Siege version. You kind of rotate it around and then rotate this back up into place. So this sits over this little tab here. It kind of just is a resting place. This still can kind of loosely move around, unfortunately. And then you take the whole thing and double hinge it back down so that now this tab will go into that slot on the inside of the arm, in theory. Come on. There we go. And then just do the same thing on the other side here. Again, you know, it's lots of like little simple steps, but it's sort of like, oh, if you forget kind of the order of operations in which to do things, it can be a lot of things that kind of get in the way of each other, which is a little bit annoying. But, you know, once you kind of have the order down, it's not too bad. And then, of course, last but not least, we have to take the rotor blades. And now how this works, it is new for this figure, is the whole blade down here will separate down the middle and then fold down like this. And then you take this handle and like this kind of, I guess, fake handle that was like in between the sword and the real handle and fold them in either direction like that. And then you've got this whole section, which just plugs on there with the free spinning section. And there we have Springer in his helicopter mode. And yeah, you know, again, like I said, it's not dissimilar from the Siege version, but I think it does look pretty good, all things considered. One thing that kind of annoys me is I wish that they had just kind of done it more like the Thrilling 31, where it splits this way and then goes down like this with the little unfolding piece to kind of unlock it, so that the sides of the blade are actually on opposite sides of the rotor, so it spins around, whereas this one looks a little bit weird with those being perfectly symmetrical. I mean, obviously, if you're spinning it, you know, like, who really notices? But it does kind of feel like it would make more sense for one of these to be rotated the other way, which is a little bit annoying, but, you know, I can kind of forgive it. But yeah, you could do that. I guess if you really wanted to, you could also tab it in like this if you wanted the rotors to be up there, but you didn't want them to be able to spin. You could just have them be up there like that, which I don't know why you'd want to, but you could do that. But yeah, other than that, fairly good looking alt mode. Again, all the wheels are kind of clearly visible, which bothered some people, but I don't know if I really care. It's again, because it's like a space helicopter. In terms of storage of all the extra stuff that he has in this mode, it's mostly the same kind of thing. The siege guns can still go where they were on the side here. They're a little bit more pronounced because these pieces have kind of gone out to the side. You can get like the sword pegged in here, or not really actually, because everything bumps into the rotor blades, so scratch that. I don't know what can actually fit there. Maybe this gun. No, not really. Okay, so yeah, no storage. Helicopter mode, no good storage. But again, I was gonna take all of this stuff off to the side anyway. But yeah, no, it's not a perfect solution to things. And again, if these had folded down a little bit more, or some stuff had kind of integrated in some way, that would have been nicer. But whatever. He also does, like the Siege one, kind of have just like a big gap back here, unfortunately, but you can forgive it. Otherwise, he's a fairly good looking space helicopter mode. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Sideswipe, just for that standard size comparison there, so you can see how the two of them look. Here he is with Thrilling 30 Springer in his helicopter mode, and obviously very different aesthetics here. He's much more stylized and he's much more G1 accurate. Here he is again with Siege Springer, just so you can see kind of how the two of them look. I think that the helicopter modes in general are a lot more similar than the other two modes, but you can see the differences there. And then I guess we'll show them off again with some of these guys. We don't need to bring on necessarily everyone here, but here's a few. Here's how he looks with RC and Rodimus and Ultra Magnus. And yeah, that works too. You could have him like land on top of Ultra Magnus or Rodimus there, and it's a good size for it. But yeah, no, works well enough, just about as well. Like, Springer's helicopter mode has always been kind of just like, it's the car mode with rotors, or vice versa, depending on how you want to look at it. So, it works well enough. But yeah, to continue on the transformation to robot mode, obviously we'll just take off the sword again and then put it back into its original configuration there. I think technically for robot mode, you're supposed to have these up like this. I usually leave them out at an angle, but it's really whatever you prefer. You want to take this section, kind of double hinge it up like that, and just kind of put it on the back side there. I just want to unlock the arms here, and then we want to take this whole section, make sure that it unclicks from the back here, which is a new piece of tooling that the Siege one didn't have. Rotate these around and just put them back where they were, and then take these bits here, and you want to rotate this piece in and then rotate this piece in. It's similar to how the Siege one works, but not quite the same, because this whole section is retooled. And then you're supposed to take this and just kind of like put it at an angle like that. And we'll do that on both sides there, just to get the arms out of the way. Just like that. And then what do we want to do next? So then I guess we'll take the legs and handle those. We just want to fold these sections back in. Again, don't tab them in yet, because you need the clearance to kind of take these sections, rotate the fins in, and then rotate these to the inside, and then you can tab these sections in. Then we just want to take the feet, rotate them around on this joint, and then flatten them out like that. Rotate them around at the thigh swivel. Make sure it's actually at the thigh swivel, not, at the hip joint in this configuration. You want to bring these armatures up just so you can have the clearance to take these and lock the hips back into place there, just like that. And then let's see what's next. This is mostly the section that's retooled as the whole torso. We want to unfold this section, open this up, and the head now flips out from here, rotate it around, and then you want to take this whole section and it will kind of untab from the body, similar to how the Siege version was, but the mechanism is a little different, and then double hinge it up like that. Then you want to fold this section down so that these tabs here can go into that section right there. You kind of want to fold these out to the side as well. And then we can also, it's like you kind of have to do all of this simultaneously, but you can close this back up, close these panels in, and then you can lock that in place, and then take the head there, and it will just kind of loosely tab onto that section. And then you can take the shoulder sections and then lock them into those green armature bits there. And there we have Springer in his robot mode. Obviously, I'll adjust the camera here. And yeah, his robot mode looks honestly fantastic. Like, I mean, the problems with Siege Springer were never the way it looked. Like, I liked the way Siege Springer looks, and I think that this guy pretty much just takes that already good basis of a good looking robot mode and just makes it look even better. Like, he's got the leader class budget now, so he's got some nice painted detail. He's got like his toes picked out here. Again, the like greens I think are a much better match for how he looked in the movie with the kind of like more like pale tones there. He's got a new head sculpt, which, it's kind of hard to tell when you're not comparing the two directly, but it's a very good looking head sculpt there. He has a lot of like sculpting that is like meant to give him these like angles. Like if you look at how his chest actually sits, it sits like an angle there because it's a little bit more accurate again to how it sat in the movie. His shoulders sit at this angle, and they also sit at a bit of an angle this way because there's actually, and if you wanted these to sit up straight, you could probably just like shave off this little tab there because that just is like serves as kind of a stopping point for it. But yeah, he's got a pretty good looking robot mode here in terms of articulation. The head is on, I think it's probably on a ball joint, but it really only gets a swivels range, and he kind of bumps into the plate that his head is on a little bit. Also, this panel does not tab in like super securely, which is a little bit annoying, but the arms here, it's again the same basic setup of the Siege arms. It just works a little bit differently because now he's got like separate locking tabs to have his body lock in place without the arms being like a integral part of that. So as a result, he's just a little bit more stable overall. They can rotate around like that. It again, like the Siege version, is kind of like a low joint. So like when you rotate it a little bit too far, his arms start to look a little bit stupid. But it can also fold out to the side and looks fine that way. He's got a bicep swivel like right above the elbow. He's got a little over 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. He's got a wrist swivel. He's got opening fingers, which are new. He's got a waist cut, although it doesn't go fully all the way around, but kind of enough. His hips can go forward and back and out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel. It's got a pretty deep knee bend there, and then the ankles have that tilt out to the side. They can also tilt forward like that and back a little bit. I'm still not in love with the way that the feet work, just because of where the joint is placed, it means that it's like taking pressure on this side, so it's pretty easy to kind of like tip him over that way. It's not terrible, and it's definitely stronger than the hips or the ankles on the Siege version, but yeah, still that mechanism overall is like just placing the foot joint that far up, I think, is a little bit problematic. But obviously that's the same since it's the same, lower legs as the Siege version. In terms of his weapons, obviously we can give him his sword here. You could give him his more movie accurate sword if you want as well. We could give him the hammer here, which again is just in the same, sort of same plastic as his hands and his upper legs there. We could give him the big gun here like that. We could give him the Siege guns. Again, he comes with kind of a lot. You can see just like messing around with him. He's starting to tip backwards, and I just need to keep readjusting the feet there. Like he's not going to fall over on his own. And then the big missile, there's not really anything you can do with it aside like there's no way to actually like tab it in. So you kind of just have to open up his hands and have him like sort of cradle it, which doesn't actually have any locking mechanism that I'm aware of, which is not great, but it's not too difficult to get him to hold it. Now, in terms of storage for all this stuff, pretty much it's the same idea as it was for the alt modes, in that he's got the 3 tabs back here, and then all the accessories aside from the Siege guns have those tabs as well. So you can tab 3 out of anything on him, and then if you have the other 2 things being held, you can actually have everything on him at once, but you can't actually store everything on him at once. So for me, I just tab the sword in there. You can tab the gun in here like that, and again, the tab on here is a little bit too thick for the gun, so it's not amazing. You could have the other sword here, or either of these, whatever. For the Siege guns, you can peg them like onto the legs, which, because they're the same color, is not the worst look. I honestly wish that they had given him just like one of the Siege guns twice, so he at least had symmetrical guns, and then this would bother me a lot less, but Whatever. Again, all the stuff, I'm kind of just going to keep the rotor blade sword with him and call it a day, but that's where all that stuff could notionally store. Just like the Siege version, his backpack, unfortunately, does not like tab into place super well, which is a little bit annoying, but is not the end of the world. He does also have one extra feature, which is, I think, wholly unnecessary, but you can open up his arm here, and he's got this little flip out missile like he had in the movie, and then I guess you're supposed to like rotate his hand around and then rotate the arm around so it's like shooting out of the top of his arm, but then that looks stupid because now his elbow faces down. He's only got it on one arm. I don't know that that's really worth it, but it doesn't really get in the way of anything either, so I guess I don't really care. It's nice to be there in case some people like really wanted to see that feature, but I don't think it's truly necessary, and I don't really see myself using that all that often. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe there. Here he is with Thrilling 30 Springer, still obviously a little bit shorter, but a lot more G1 accurate looking. I love Thrilling 30 Springer just as a figure, but in terms of like a G1 accurate Springer, I think that this is definitely the best looking one we've gotten. And here he is with Siege Springers, just so you can see all the differences there. He is like a tiny bit taller. The head sculpts you can see are different. I had no problem with Siege Springer's head sculpt until I saw this guy's head sculpt, and just comparing them at the face, he's now got like this like weird kind of squared off chin there. Both of them, they have their fin kind of stop at the top here rather than like swoop all the way back like Springer's is supposed to, but whatever. I like that he's actually got the full dark green painted all the way around back rather than how Siege one had it, just because he's got more budget. And yeah, so this is where I think two of the major improvements are compared to my biggest problems with the Siege one. One, the obvious one, is just like the stupid swords not like really staying in place, and two, my Siege Springer is super floppy, and he is not, and that is so good to see, because they did change the upper legs and the hip sections for this guy, even though this part is the same, the lower legs are the same. And that is just so good to see, because this guy is honestly, like, his ankles are a little looser too, and with the ankle thing and the hips, like, he's just so annoying to stand up. And then you add on the weapons, which are constantly bumping into things and falling off. It's just like, oh god, it's so irritating. And this guy does not have that problem, because his weapon stays nice and secure on there. The ankles are still a little bit annoying, but it's a little bit more manageable when you're not dealing with the other two problems, whereas like the hips are much tighter, which is so good to see, because this guy, that like those things combined really just made this guy just such a pain to deal with. And maybe that wasn't the case on everyone's copy, but at least on my copy, I'm just like, every time I have to touch Siege Springer, I'm just like, I don't want to put that back on my shelf. It's gonna take 5 full minutes to get him to stand, and it's just, yeah, really annoying. But yeah, he's also got like the angles in the chest and the shoulder blades. With these, if you don't want them to be at an angle like that, you can at least fold them down like this, but they still are kind of like an angle at the back. So if you prefer that look, like, you might have to kind of like trim down that tab or something. The chest being at an angle, I think it makes him look a little bit weird from some angles. I would probably have preferred just like the flat chest like the Siege one had, but I don't think that that's too big of an issue. But yeah, that's what the two of them look like together. And then of course we'll bring on the rest of our crew here. We'll get, let's get Ultra Magnus, RC, Rodimus. Nope, we don't need Sideswipe. Cup, Blur. I forgot to transform Perceptor. Just do that real quick, because he's an easy figure to transform. Nice back and forth. We don't need to worry too much about Perceptor. There we go. Bonus transformation for a figure that I reviewed like over a year ago. When did Perceptor come out? Like maybe 2 years ago at this point. I don't remember. But yeah, here we go. There we have the full crew together, and little wheelie as well. So you can see what all of them look like together. And yeah, I think he looks really good with all of them. I think that, it's a nice group shot there. Obviously, Ultra Magnus is a little cut off because he's a very tall lad. But yeah, no, it's nice to see the full kind of, 1986 movie crew together. I think that they all look really good. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to Studio Series Springer. Obviously, like, he, is pretty similar, all things considered, to the Siege one. For me, it's really worth it because like the main things that I had as issues of the Siege Springer, like he fixes those things. The only thing he doesn't really fix for me, compared to the Siege Springer, is like the way that the sword stores in alt mode, but it is better, even if it's not like what I would want out of like an integrated sword storage for a Springer figure. So I can deal with it. But yeah, there are a lot of things I like about Siege Springer on paper that just like didn't really work out because of how much of a mess that figure was for me. Where this guy really does make me appreciate this mold a lot better. And then, you know, just the improvements there of like having the better greens, which are things that I didn't even know I had a problem with, the better head sculpt, something I didn't even know I had a problem with. But yeah, the better looking sword. I mean, the accessories are nice. I could kind of take them or leave them. It's up to you whether or not you think, like, you know, all the painted stuff that he improves would not have been, I guess, possible with how they do their leader class budgets. And then to round it out, it's nice that they gave you a bunch of extra stuff. I don't necessarily need it, but it's nice that he comes with it, especially if this is going to be like an integral part of a future Rack and Ruin. It's good that he came with this, but you know, the movie accurate sword, I don't care. I like the rotor blade sword. I don't want to have him have a fake sword. The missile, it's a cool thing to have to like recreate that scene, but honestly, it's just going to be in a box 90% of the time. The bigger gun, because it doesn't store anywhere, yeah, you know, I mean, it stores, but not like perfectly. I'm just going to put it off to the side. The siege guns, again, because they don't have like amazing storage in all the alt modes, I'm just going to put those off to the side as well. So I'm just keeping him with his big sword, and then the rest of the stuff's going in a box. But yeah, you know, it's fine. I still really like this figure, and I am pleased with how he turned out. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Springer.